Really? We get a happy ending? Really? Honestly, wasn't too sure whether we were gonna go down the Project Moon rabbit hole, but if we're gonna do this, then we may as well do this properly. So, we're gonna be starting from Lobotomy Corporation, and I've seen this video recommended by quite a few of you guys. Hopefully it's good. There was a lot of contention with the previous video that we checked out, but I do want to clarify, I have no idea what these videos are going to contain. I'm basically just going off of whatever you guys recommend. Regardless though, before we get into this reaction, please make sure to go support the original creator. Link, very top of the description, like always.
Alright, looks like everyone is finally here. Welcome to the first day of class, everyone.
I see. Man, this makes me think of Tex Talks Battletech. It's been so long since I've checked out Battletech, and I'm still hanging on to like the part 2 of damn, I forgot already what saga we were currently on. But I do kind of enjoy the whole like classroom setup in order to tell video game or video game adjacent lore. Also, if you guys don't know about Battletech, I do highly recommend checking it out. It's a really cool universe. If you enjoy sci-fi, then yeah, it's gonna be right up your alley.
I'll be your teacher for this semester. You can call me Professor Hypocrite. Now, I know everyone is eager to get started, but I wanted to get some things out of the way before we begin. First of all, I assume that everyone here is attending for one of 4 reasons. 1, you just need more credit hours and knew the class would be easy. That's fine. Welcome. 2, you're a huge Project Moon fan who only consumes Project Moon content, and you're going to correct me in the comments about every little thing. That's also fine. Glad to have you.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
3, you didn't understand the ending, or you didn't have it in you to complete Lobotomy Corporation because the game is full of what we in the business call bullshit difficulty. And you want to know...
Okay, I have seen a lot of comments talking about how it's certainly an experience that I'm not really sure that you would recommend to anyone. It's probably one of those games where if you get it, you get it, but even then there's probably a little bit of RNG involved, and then you'd have to redo quite a fair bit, which can be very frustrating. Of course, I don't know anything about the gameplay, this is just going off of comments. So, it's safe to say, if I did ever play a game from Project Moon, it would probably be Limbus Company. I believe I can just get that on Steam, right? But yeah, I'm always thankful to these kind of videos that tell the lore about video games that I'm not gonna have enough time to play.
What the hell is going on so you can continue to the next game? I totally understand. This game is pretty unfair, I won't lie. But I'm glad you gave it a shot, and Project Moon really hit their stride with the next games, so I hope this helps you out. And finally, number 4. This class randomly popped into your recommended, or a friend sent it to you because they want you to get into the series. If that's the case, run! Run far away! Cut all ties with this person. They are lost. They cannot be saved. You'll get sucked into if you continue.
You know, at least he's honest about it. I probably know what I'm getting myself into. I've explored enough fandoms to have a bit of an understanding of how this is about to go. But hey, I just enjoy learning for the sake of learning, so I'm here. I can't wait to see what other rabbit hole people drag me down into.
We all do. But if you choose to ignore that warning and watch anyway because you're interested, then welcome. May God have mercy on your soul. Whatever your reasons for being here, I'm glad that you're attending this semester, and I sincerely hope that you enjoy. And of course, you all should have realized this when you signed up for the class, but it will spoil the entire story of Lobotomy Corporation.
That's why I'm here.
So if at any point you become interested in playing for yourself, please step out of class and give it a try, and come back when you have to fight the Arbiter, because oh god. With that in mind, welcome everyone to our first lesson. The History of the City, Part 1, Lobotomy Corporation, and the coolest setting in fiction. Welcome to the city. The setting for Project Moon's universe is a massive dystopian hellhole where the entire thing is ruled over by megacorporations. Wow, it's just like real life. Let me be clear, this place is awesome. For us. Not for the people that live in it.
Exactly. That is the same thing I would say about something like Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40k, where it's really cool, but man, if I was to be isekai'd into a fictional universe that I was familiar with, I hope to dear God it's not Warhammer.
It's one of the most creative settings I've ever seen in any piece of fiction, and it completely enraptured me the first time I learned about it. The city is divided into 26 sections, called wings, each labeled with a letter of the alphabet. Oh, yes? I didn't expect questions so soon. You there, in the back of the class.
Yeah, I only see 25 districts. Where's Z?
That is a fantastic question.
We don't talk about Z.
Don't worry about it. Each
Yeah,
of these
there you go.
wings is controlled by a powerful corporation with a corresponding letter, and each of them possess an incredibly powerful, borderline magical technology known as a singularity. In the city, singularities are what make the world go round, and they're what allow the corporations to maintain their power. They can do anything from teleporting you to stopping time and everything in between. But of course, that technology isn't for everyone. Only the most powerful or the most wealthy.
Obviously.
These districts and their corporations are held in check by the head, the governing force of the city that's composed of A, B, and C Corp.
It makes me more curious now to know, how did we end up this way in the first place? Like, there are things set up to make sure that mega corporations don't become this way. That being said, it's kind of questionable whether they're efficient or actually doing their job. But like, how did we allow this to happen?
No one knows who's in charge or even what goes on in District A, but if anyone starts looking a bit too deep into it, they're sent a strongly worded letter and asked to stop. Nah, just kidding. They disappear, presumably murdered. In each district, there are also massive living areas, known as the nests. Nests are the nice place to live in the city because you're under direct protection by your corporation, so you're mostly safe from the horrors that roam the street. However, that's no reason to relax. Even in the nests, you can become the target of extortion, be murdered by your neighbor, or more likely, be kidnapped by your corporation to be used in experimentation. Now, that doesn't sound great, but it's far better than the alternative. If you don't live in the nest, then you're living in the back streets.
Yeah, I see. I gotcha. We really are just the Imperium of mankind right now. If you're not like a named space marine or some other really important figure, your life sucks. But I mean, not to say that named characters, their lives don't suck. But at least their lives suck a little bit less. It's pretty clear that here, if you're not on top, you're on the very bottom.
The back streets are a massive series of sprawling alleys and slums connecting each district in the city where no one really cares what's going on. It's full of drugs, crime, cannibals, and gut harvesters, which do exactly what you think they do. Not only that, the streets are routinely stalked by horrific monsters known as abnormalities, which come from either outside the city or somewhere else.
Well, we were very much based on like SCP, right? So we're just utilizing all these SCPs that we either create or discover for whatever profit that we can get from them, I would assume. But yeah, are they naturally occurring outside the city and like the only quote-unquote a safe place for humanity to exist now is within the city? Like, is there life outside of the city? Are there other cities out there? Maybe that isn't really even covered, to be honest, because there's already so much to talk about.
The people here can't enter the nests without an absurd amount of screening and cash, so most are stuck here for life, which is naturally pretty short under these conditions. The only reason the back streets isn't in constant war with itself is due to the presence of the Fingers, 5 massive syndicates that keep relative order. We'll talk more about them in the future, but even they can't fix the back streets completely. One of the only ways
I think I came to the realization pretty early on that nobody is the good guys. But that's a good thing. It just makes everybody, cool.
to remain relatively safe in most areas is to hire a fixer. Fixers are essentially mercenaries that anyone can employ to do odd jobs, like police work, protection, or killing your neighbor who keeps playing loud music at night. They're graded from 1 to 9, with 1 being the most powerful and 9 being the least. If you do something crazy impressive, like take a dangerous monster down on your own, or put a stop to a massive plot, you may even be promoted to the rank of a color. Color fixers are legendary in the city, and are the most powerful and well-known figures outside of the corporations. Most of the time, fixers either work for an office or an association. Offices are small private establishments run by individuals, who mostly take the odd jobs and requests of clients that contact them. Associations, on the other hand, are far larger and more professional. There are 12 associations, each covering a massive area of the city, and each specializes in a certain department. For example, the She Association specializes in assassinations and covert operations, while the Zwei Association specializes in police activities like bodyguard work and maintaining general peace. We'll talk more on associations when they pop up in the story, but just remember that they exist.
Roger that. I think usually when it comes to exploring these type of things for me, I remember the broad strokes, but it's really only when I get into the game myself and play it and experience it that I'm going to start to remember like what all these associations do.
Oh, another question already. Yes, you there, with the bad microphone.
Oh yeah, Teach? The city's
what?
so bad. Why don't people just leave? It's just a real big city, right?
Well, yes and no. It is a really big city, but there's barely anything outside of it as far as we know. This area is called the Outskirts, and it's a completely barren wasteland full of monsters and dangerous forgotten technology. Some people do live here, but the establishments are small and in constant danger. Every once in a while, expedition teams will be sent to recover some of the forgotten relics that lie in the ruins, but for the most part, the only interaction the city has with it is sending private military forces to drive back any monsters that...
Why do they have bunny ears? And this dude literally is just a space marine. But yeah, one would have to imagine that if you're out there living in the outskirts, you'd probably live a much more nomadic lifestyle, and your life expectancy is, unfortunately, probably even less than your average citizen in the city. If you did survive, though, you'd be a badass.
Come too close. It's also home to the non-humans, mysterious beings who inhabited the city before the head arrived. There was apparently a huge war between the two, but most of that information has been scrubbed from the history books. All we know...
So wait, the non-humans, are they like rogue AI or something? Did we have like a golden age of technology and then it all went wrong? And somehow release all these SCPs into the world?
Is that once the non-humans were driven out, the head implemented the AI Ethics Amendment, which forbade the creation of AI, as well as any machines that were designed to look human. So, they were probably robots. For now, that's all that you need to know about the power structure of the city. We'll talk more on it later, but for Lobotomy Corporation, that's more than enough info. So, let's get into the events leading up to the game. As you might imagine, people in the city are not very happy. One might even go as far as to say that they are really unhappy, actually. But everyone just kind of accepts it. This is referred to as the disease of the mind, and while it's not a literal disease, some people decide that it needs to be cured. These people are Carmen, a young woman who dreams of a world where people can live their lives without horrible oppression, achieving the dreams they didn't know they had, and Ian, a man obsessed with results who will sacrifice anything for his goal.
Oh boy, this feels like a pretty familiar setup. Considering the fact that Carmen's face is scribbled out, I do not expect her to live for very long. She is somebody who possesses hope in a grimdark sci-fi universe. She's not going to live. Actually, probably even worse, not just death. Probably like eternal servitude as a servitor or something. That or she becomes the final boss.
Carmen is kind, thoughtful, and would never become the main antagonist of the series.
Duly noted. My theories are all incorrect. Just ignore me.
And Ian is here because he bottoms. The two of them begin recruiting researchers for the Seed of Light project, a massive undertaking to return the light to the souls of people and eventually turn the city into a paradise. They recruited their team from all walks of life, with the primary researchers composed of Benjamin, Ian's student, Elijah, a very passionate though scatterbrained girl, Gabriel, an obsessive embodiment of OCD, and Michelle, who always puts others before herself. She's just so cute and sweet, she is my favorite. They're also joined by Daniel, an elite who abandoned his life of luxury after hearing Carmen's passion, Giovanni, who's shockingly lazy for a researcher, Kali, a legendary color fixer known as the Red Mist, and 2 children that the team rescued from the backstreets, Lisa and Enoch. With the team assembled, they set up a laboratory in the outskirts, just barely out of sight from the all-knowing head. Eventually, they were able to discover cogito, a substance extracted from the human psyche, and it was able to manifest a person's mental state in a physical form.
Oh shit. We're personoing this? We've activated someone's palace?
Well, discover is a strong word. Technically, it's always been there, they just found a way to harness it. It's never fully explained what exactly cogito is, and honestly, it's confusing, but that's not really important. All that we know is that there isn't a ton of it, and because it taps into the human psyche, they might be able to use it.
Well, especially when it comes to sci-fi series. When it comes to science within sci-fi series, it's mostly going to be tapping into things that you barely understand, and regardless of how you search for answers, they're just not going to be there. Some things you just have to accept are the way that they are, and just believe what you see.
They did a lot of experimenting, but when they hadn't made much progress creating the Seed of Light in a while, they decided it was time to step it up a notch. It was time to do some human testing. They needed to push the limits on what cogito could do, so Carmen would try injecting it herself. But before she could do so, Enoch volunteered himself. After all, the team had rescued him and his sister, and he had always wondered what the meaning of life was. So, the experiment began. Enoch strapped in, readied his mind, and gave a reassuring thumbs up to his sister. And then immediately died.
Yep, there he goes.
Yeah, turns out cogito is extremely deadly when injected. After the experiment failed, Ian was like, oopsie daisy, looks like we killed a 12-year-old. Oh well, better luck next time.
Yo, what the fuck, guys? Can we not have done this on literally anything else but just a human child right off the bat? I don't know, this feels kind of unwise. But maybe on the other hand, you couldn't really test cogito with anything else but a human being, because it directly relates to the human psyche, right? Regardless though, a bad end result.
Come on guys, what do you say? On to the next experiment? Needless to say, the rest of the team didn't take it so well. Carmen by far felt the worst about what they had done, but she truly broke when Lisa heard the news her brother had died, only to point out that it should have been Carmen, as she was the one originally planned for injection. Realizing what she had sacrificed, Carmen's mind shattered, and she decided the only course of action was to play with a cool knife in her bathtub.
Whoa.
Unfortunately, even this wasn't an escape. The city is incredibly technologically advanced, and even their medical treatment is at an almost magical level. Healing ampules developed by K-Corp are capable of healing nearly any wound as long as the brain is intact, and they do it almost instantly. So naturally, when Ian found Carmen bleeding out in the tub on the verge of death,
holy, this is this is one hell of an image.
He didn't use any of that shit and instead ripped out her nervous system, shoved it in a big tank, and used it as the new source of cogito.
What did I say? Something worse than death. Eternal servitude as a servitor. Oh! Why does this keep happening?
Yay! Now they had as much as they wanted. This kind of sucked for everyone. Losing not just a member of the team that everyone cared for, but also driving Lisa practically insane and turning their primary research into a living vending machine was not great for team morale. But Ian still pressed forward, and while Carmen wouldn't hurt a fly, he needed to see results after losing his waifu like this. And so, the true human trials began. Ian was experimenting on everyone he could find, and made some incredible breakthroughs in the process. Kagado essentially works like a bucket, drawing out a person's desires, dreams, and fears from the well that is their being. Rarely, injecting a human resulted in the creation of ego, an incredibly powerful extension of a person, manifesting in the form of gear or weapons with supernatural effects. But that required an incredibly strong will, and for most people in the city, their desires would simply overwhelm them.
I wonder if this is like somewhat similar to creating a half gear in the Guilty Gear universe. I believe in the lore early on, that's what they attempted. Now, obviously, things went really wrong and led to the whole wars that happened, the Holy Wars, I believe, against the Gears. Regardless, though, a lot of these plot points do seem quite familiar to a lot of stuff that we checked out already here on the channel. So I wonder if these fixers, I'm going to assume that the fixers are kind of like the people that you recruit in Limbus company, all have some sort of ego that they use, and that just becomes like the norm, or it's just a special team.
Instead resulting in the creation of an abnormality. These are basically SCPs, beings or objects with strange properties, with those around them needing to obey their rules or risk immediate death.
Oh yeah, 100% in an SCP. Don't take your eyes off of the peanut. If you do, it's gonna get you.
They are confusing, difficult to manage, and incredibly dangerous. While this is unfortunate for the subject of experimentation, it actually worked out great for Ian, who discovered that abnormalities could be harnessed to produce enkephalin, a hyper-potent energy source. So if they had enough, they might be able to create their seed of light. But just when he finally made this breakthrough, shit hit the fan. In fact, the fan was covered in shit. The fan was made of shit. The team broke down. Elijah, wanting to make herself useful, took an unauthorized Kagado injection.
Oh shit.
This is what we in the business refer to as a silly, goofy move. While dying in horrific agony, she crawled her way to Ian and was like,
"Oh god, it hurts so bad, please kill me, please put me down. This is the most suffering I've felt in my entire life."
And Ian responded, "Most suffering in your life so far."
Wait, what the fuck does that
Anyway, I'm not going to kill you. Your experience is important for our research. Have fun melting from the inside out.
This guy.
Meanwhile, Gabriel saw the effects of Kagado and, because of his obsessive nature, became completely horrified that it may be affecting him in the lab. He was like,
"Yeah, I really don't like the look of that,"
and began to scratch and claw at any exposed skin he had until he eventually found his throat a little too itchy and decided to remove it.
God.
Giovanni was barely doing any work at all by this point, so Ian made use of him as well, telling Giovanni that if he took a Kagado injection that it could save Carmen. Ian's pants then immediately caught fire because that was a big fat lie. But it was all Giovanni needed to hear, and as he lied dying on the experimentation table, he looked up at Ian.
So this is it. I'm just glad to help. As lazy as I was, I really cared about her dream. It might cost me my life, but at least it'll save her. Right?
I don't think it will.
Lol, said Ian. Lamau. Finally, with...
What the fuck, Ian? What is this man? He really is just a, ends justify the means kind of guy. At this point, if I'm a part of this team, I'm getting the fuck out of here. This is not working out. This shit is crazy, man. I have better odds surviving in the city.
all the death and horrific experiments going on, Michelle broke. She contacted the head and revealed everything that Ian was doing. The head took this information very well and was very understanding. Just kidding, they sent the human equivalent of a nuclear blast to massacre everyone in the facility. This is Garion. Garion is a power scaling tool. She is what is known as an arbiter, singularity-infused agents sent directly from A-Corp. I've made this handy diagram for everyone to properly understand the difference in strength.
Gotcha. A singularity-infused agent. So, the singularities are like the main technology within each of the wings, which means that she definitely has some incredibly OP powers, and if you meet her and she wants you dead, you're probably gonna die.
Okay, got it? She slaughters most of the employees and forces Daniel to open the abnormality containment. Daniel goes,
Okay, but I'm going to do it really, really slow so that everyone can escape.
Unfortunately for him, this did nothing. The abnormalities and Garion wiped out literally all the employees anyway, Lisa included.
Damn.
Daniel was a little upset by that, and after being scolded by Ian for being a fucking coward, decided to commit toaster bath.
You can't say shit, bro. You caused all this to happen in the first place. We had dreams and aspirations, and I don't think this path was what we wanted to walk down. But I suppose the path to hell is paved with good intentions.
Only person able to even begin to stand up to Garion was Kali, the strongest fixer in the city. The Red Mist going all out was a near unstoppable force.
Honestly, that looks a lot like the Soul Edge. Probably just thinking about it because I recently learned about the Soul Calibur lore.
Massacring the other agents of the head and cutting down any abnormalities in an effort to protect those left alive. She was a force of nature, an unbreakable blade. Nothing stood a chance against her. Her true strength unmatched. Finally, the only one left to kill was Garion herself. And Garion fucking bodied her, removing an arm, an eye, and most of Kali's blood from her body. But right when she was about to finally give in, we had a dramatic flashback.
Are the Arbiters stronger than you, Kali?
Good question. If they're protected by some claws, or the Abno's breached, they might give me a little trouble.
But would you lose?
Nah, I'd win.
With her dying breath, Kali managed to impale Garion to the wall of the facility, mortally wounding her. Kali fell, but she succeeded. The only survivors were Ian and Benjamin. Oh yeah, and Michelle, but once she found out what she caused to happen at the facility, she decided she wanted to roleplay as a tire swing. Ian and Benjamin...
Okay, yeah. Fuck, dude. We're losing everybody just left and right here. Goddamn. And, like, it really sucks, but the situation is bad, so I can't even blame anybody for doing the things that they're doing, except Ian. Like, bro, stop. Why?
Were able to recover the Arbiter's nearly dead body and extracted all the information they could from her brain, learning how to avoid the watchful eye of the head. In this case, the biggest problem was that they needed to become a wing, one of the 26 corporations in the city.
Oh, is this
now,
Z?
there can't be 27 wings because they would run out of letters. I don't know what to tell you, that just makes sense. So in order to make room for themselves, the two began formulating a plan to take down one of the wings. But they would need more resources.
Interesting. I wonder why they would be, like, quote-unquote accepted if they were able to take down one of the wings and replace them. Maybe that's just some sort of arbitrary rule that is set in place that they do have a singularity, technically speaking, that they're working on, so they could basically just become a wing, if that's what a wing is based off of.
Hey people, Seth here. Have you ever dug too deep and found something they don't want?
Ian, we need something to promise those that work with us. Without something in return, no one is going to want to take our side. And we barely have any assets at the moment, besides Cogito, and we can't be shelling that out. After all, it's supposed to be our corporation's singularity.
Don't worry, Ben 10.
That's not my name.
I've already got this problem solved. I've opened a Patreon.
A what now?
It's a way for people to support the work I do. This video took a ton of effort after all, and it'll probably get demonetized because YouTube does not like the themes that Project Moon puts forward.
It's a taboo to record in District 14.
I only have a single tier set up because I don't have much to offer right now, but if they decide to join, they'll at least get their name in the credits of every video.
You're going to get us killed!
Any extra support goes to getting better equipment and more resources to create even better videos. So if they're willing to help out, they can find a link in the description below.
Okay, if you're going to keep talking, I'm setting down the Arbiter Brain. It's getting kind of mushy.
I really appreciate everyone for watching, so don't feel like you need to give anything for the show to go on. I won't suddenly disappear because someone didn't donate. We're not the 8 o'clock circus after all.
Ian, that doesn't happen until the next game.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that we should target L Corp, the energy production corporation. Everyone already hates them because they cause an insane amount of pollution. This was fantastic for them. Since abnormalities generated enkephalin, they could be used to generate energy for the whole city, with no disgusting black smoke to speak of. So, Ian and Benjamin hooked up.
Whoa, I see. So we're using abnormalities, essentially creating SCPs in order to extract energy from them. Honestly, this seems on par with the plan that the scientists in the Doom universe have, where it's like, we have this energy, but it comes from hell. So we're gonna open a portal to hell so that we can take that energy and use it. Nothing will go wrong.
With this super cool gal named Diaz. She runs a group known as the Udjot, and while she's barely mentioned in the whole series, she's kind of a puppet master who works behind the scenes. We basically have no information on her right now, but she's one of the most powerful driving forces in the whole setting, and we'll hear more about her later. All you need to know for now is that she's very influential. The three of them working together are able to spark the Smoke War, one of the only known wing wars in the entire history of the city. L Corp was defended by quite a few other corporations such as G Corp, but Ian had already been making deals behind the scenes, promising profitable contracts with anyone that would help them.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, is how did he get all these deals? I'm assuming it's just because he offered something better than whatever other wings were able to offer. But I don't know if his promises are going to be able to be kept. Like, are we over-promising things? I don't know. On the other side, though, there's probably a lot of wings who want to see somebody replace Elcor for their own reasons, I'm sure. So maybe they're also benefiting in that aspect as well.
This resulted in K, I, and R Corp all providing private military forces to Ian, and since R Corp's main export was troops and weaponry, L Corp eventually fell. Ian finally made his move, setting up the new L Corp, which he named Lobotomy Corporation.
There you go.
Holy shit, he said the thing! After setting up multiple branch facilities across the city to actually provide power, Ian was once again able to research the Seed of Light. But he had learned a lot from his time in the outskirts. Empathy, compassion, and love for his fellow humans.
Sure.
This time, he would do it the right way.
No.
Yeah, just kidding. The only thing Ian learned is that humans are weak. If he was going to get this right, he needed someone who wouldn't break like his previous friends.
This sickness of the mind that we're trying to cure, I feel like Ian is a prime example of this sickness of the mind.
Someone able to operate until the end of time, able to react to the worst scenarios with cold efficiency, but still able to make changes to the protocol if necessary.
An AI?
So, he went to Benjamin. Hey Ben, I think we need to make an AI.
Yeah.
Ian, listen. I have followed you this entire time, and I'll absolutely continue to do so. I basically see you as a god.
Oh,
I
my
agree
goodness.
with all of your methods, but you have to know that this is insane. Do you remember the AI ethics amendment? If you made an AI, you would be directly breaking one of the taboos of the head.
Yeah, I don't think this man cares. He's broken so many taboos, like, so what's one more taboo to break? So what, is this gonna result in a Shodan or a Durandal situation again?
I know we're hiding from them using that old Arbiter brain, but if they ever found out, you wouldn't be able to escape them again. They would hunt you to the ends of the earth, obliterating everything you have ever worked for. It would be over, not just for us, but for our dream. The world we seek to create would never come to fruition. You would doom us all. Do you really think that gamble is worth it?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
The AI ethics amendment can't stop me because I can't read.
Alright, well I'm convinced. Let's get to work.
And so the two of them would scan Carmen's brain and memories into an android body, hoping to create a perfect copy of their lost friend, but with some significant upgrades. The ability to remember everything perfectly, and to perceive the world 100 times slower, allowing for inhuman reaction time. But this new consciousness wasn't quite the same because of those changes.
Ah, I see. The girl on the poster for Lobotomy Corporation. That makes a lot of sense.
Instead, it was something uncannily close. Ian saw this and was immediately like, ew! Ew, what the fuck? Ew! No, ew, this sucks! Ew! This thing is a complete failure. Icky. No, ew.
Father, you programmed me to have emotions so I can better adjust the programs you put me in charge of. Don't forget that I also have perfect recall, so I'll remember your disgust with me forever. Don't you think it may be a bad idea to reject me so aggressively?
She will remember that.
No, I don't care. Take your heavy-handed foreshadowing and shove it up your ass. You'll never be like Carmen. After all, she was perfect and sweet and would never become the main antagonist of the series. Why do I feel like this might come back to haunt me later? This new AI's name was Angela, and as much as Ian despised this thing that looked like his lost body pillow, he knew it could work. He and Benjamin created a script for Angela to follow in order to create the Seed of Light, a perfectly planned series of events that'll lead to the Seed of Light shining over the city for 7 days. But in order for it to work, everything had to go perfectly. If the slightest thing went wrong, it would be ruined. See, this plan had one major component. In order to create the seed in the first place, it would require immense human suffering. And humans...
Of fucking course, dude. The thing to cure people's suffering. We must cause more suffering. But I also... It's the hypocritical nature of the universe, in a way. It's like... For us humans, you go to war in order to, bring peace. But you're bringing peace through war, which is the exact opposite of it. So, really? This really the only way? And sometimes, yeah, that really sucks. But reality sucks. In an ideal world, we could talk everything out and things wouldn't be this way and we'd treat each other equally, but human beings aren't like that. Again, we never were. Paradise cannot exist. In any sort of universe where paradise exists, a fictional universe where it exists, it's always built on the backs of others suffering.
Really want to avoid that. So in order to get infinite tries at succeeding, Ian decided to cheat. He contracted T-Corp, whose singularity allows for the storage, stopping, and rewinding of time. With it, Ian set up a loop that lasted 50
infinite
days,
replayability,
with Angela being in charge of remembering every loop and guiding everyone through it. If anything went even slightly off script, the loop would reset and Ian would have another chance.
I see. This kind of reminds me of Haruhi Suzumiya. I did indeed watch all 8 episodes of that. Not gonna say anything more in case you guys don't know, but for those of you who've seen it, you probably know what I'm talking about.
But to make this work, he would need even more help. Specifically, he would need someone to overcome their suffering to create the Seed of Light. And who better to do exactly that than his previous friends, since he already knew their insecurities? Just one problem. They're all dead, remember?
Yeah.
Well, actually, it wasn't much of a problem at all.
Bring them back.
Saved all of their brains. Like a normal person. So he was able to transfer all of them into robotic bodies and suppressed their memories, forming the managers of this facility known as the Sephiroth. Elijah became...
What the fuck? This is so fucked, dude. Oh. Yeah, we just turned all of our friends, all these people who believed in the same vision that we did, into servitors. Suppress their memories. Oh, God. I feel so icky, but I guess it's par for the course when it comes to these grimdark sci-fi series.
Malkuth, head of the control team. Gabriel became Yesid, head of the information team. Giovanni became Netzak, head of the security team. Michelle became Had, head of the training team. Lisa and Enoch became Tifereth A and B, heads of the command team. Kali became Gebra, head of the disciplinary team. Daniel became Chesed, head of the welfare team, and as a funny joke, he also resurrected Garion, turning her into Binna, head of the extraction team. But if all his friends would have their memories suppressed and Angela is in charge of restarting the loop, who would manage the whole facility? Well, the answer was easy. It would be Ian himself. But he couldn't do it with his memories intact, they would sway his decisions. So he decided to wipe his own mind. But the process wasn't perfect, especially once he began to interact with his former friends. He was haunted by his own demons. Abel to represent his regret for past decisions, Abram to represent his obsession over Carmen, and Adam to represent his exposure to abnormalities. It's pretty unclear if these manifestations are physical through mirror technology introduced later in the series or if it's all in Layhead, but it doesn't actually matter. All that's important is that these alternative versions of Ian exist. Once he was mind-wiped, these reflections would act as the final challenge, so it was basically Ian giving himself therapy in a weird roundabout kind of way. Like, Jesus man, you could've just talked to Benjamin. This new, blank Ian would go by X and would act as manager of Lobotomy Corporation and our playable character in the game. With everything in place, Ian hid himself away in the depths of the facility, watching and waiting for the script to complete. He started the 50-day time loop and the events of Lobotomy Corporation began.
So I'm assuming then that within the game you have to basically survive the 50 days and meet some sort of quota in order to achieve the final goal. And with each passing day, it just becomes tougher and tougher.
Oh, you thought everything up until now was the game? No. None of this actually happens in the game. It's all shown through flashbacks. Everything we just discussed happens before we even press the start button. The game itself is what happens in the actual time loop, which is why you can reload saves and shit like that.
Gotcha.
Hell, even the art style is explained, with Angela saying that if we actually witnessed everything within the facility, we would go insane. So this cartoony filter is...
Hey... So, the fact that we don't have enough money to finish it also became a part of the lore. There you go. That's a really cool creative use of limited funds.
Put over everything. Oh yeah, and also it makes the Sephiroth look hot instead of like a Borderlands reference.
Well, of course you won with those cards. Even Steve could have won with those cards. And all he can say is, hey-o! Shut the f*** up, Steve!
We control X throughout the time loop, endlessly failing, reloading, and retrying to get everything right, with Angela guiding us along the way.
So yeah, quite literally, it is built for you to fail over and over and over again until you achieve the one final result that gets you to your goal. Is this like some sort of management roguelike, I suppose you would call it?
At the start, we get some mysterious letters from a person known as B, telling us not to trust Angela. I'm sure that's fine. As we progress through the loop, more and more of the dormant Sephiroth begin to awaken, and as they interact with X, Angela, and each other, they slowly begin to regain their memories. This begins to cause issues. The first problem that actively makes itself known is with Tifereth. As said early, Tifereth A and B are Lisa and Enoch. Lisa basically only lives for her brother, but because Enoch had always questioned life and also had been dead for a long time, he didn't handle being in an artificial box and enclosed unknowingly in a time loop very well. This caused him to slowly become unstable, go insane, get crushed in a giant hydraulic press, and have a new copy made over and over again. Oh, also those notes from B stopped? That's kinda weird. Anyway, X will discover more of his background as the Sephiroth interact with him, slowly learning what exactly is happening. Each Sapphira that awakens has more information than the last, and while Malkuth, Yesod, Netzach, and Hod barely have any memories at the start, Tifereth, Gebera, and Chesed have considerably more information to give, and Binna and Hakma are pretty much fully aware of what's going on.
This is pretty freaking crazy. I wonder, like, if I was playing this game blind, I would imagine the feeling to be somewhat similar to, like, Leonardo DiCaprio's character in Shutter Island, where all these things just don't really seem to be adding up. And you know that something is happening, but you're just not sure what the correct answer is until finally gets revealed. Or maybe it doesn't even get revealed in the game.
Wait, who the fuck is Hawkma?
Hawkma nuts anymore.
Yeah, who's that?
Okay, so remember those notes from B? That was Benjamin, who finally realized that the path Ian was going down might be a little fucked up.
So that's
He
Benjamin.
recorded some messages for Ian trying to warn him to stop, as well as cautioning that Angela probably isn't a fan of him, so that Ian would still have a chance to go back once the loop had started. Unfortunately for him, Angela caught him in the act and shoved him into a claptrap like the rest of the squad pretty early on, so his warnings went unheard. But
Gotcha.
plot twist, that was all according to Ian's script. See, it says right there in line 540, Ben gets turned into a box. Unbeknownst to Benjamin, Ian planned on him getting got from the very beginning, since he needed one more brain to complete his plan. Luckily, Hawkma doesn't actually care, and still is willing to follow Ian to the bitter end.
Okay.
I mean, everyone else on the team dying didn't stop him, why would his own death change anything? As more and more abnormalities are secured, contained, and protected in the facility, and by that I mean people being horrifically injected with Cogito to create artificial monstrosities bent on ending human life, more and more power is directed to the Seed of Light. The only piece left is the human aspect. Everyone here needs to suffer. And that everyone includes you. Welcome to the worst part of the game. As the Sephiroth begin to realize who you are, what exactly you did to them, and what they've done to a bunch of innocent people, they become a little upset. In fact, they're so upset by this information that it actively warps their bodies and the facility itself. This is a Sapphira meltdown, and you've got to deal with it. In the game, these act as essentially boss fights, imposing difficult conditions on top of your already deadly facility, only ending once you've suppressed their core by full.
Okay, this is definitely going to be suffering for anybody playing, but I think from a meta perspective, it's actually really cool that you suffering through a difficult game is also a part of the suffering that's getting basically put into the seed in order to make sure that everybody gets to be happy in the end. And I'm sure this plan goes perfectly well and nothing bad happens.
Filling a list of objectives. And if you want me to be honest with you, they're not very fun. But that's okay, because I can just use rotating PNGs to describe what's happening in each one instead of replaying the most absurd difficulty spike known to man. Let's go over what each Sapphira is traumatized by, how they get over it, and what they find within themselves as a result. Malkuth was never very good at anything. As passionate as Elijah was, and as organized as she tried to be, she was reckless in her attempts to prove herself, to say the least. Ian never praised her for the work she tried to do, and she carries that resentment still, actively hoping to see X fail. She no longer believes that anything can be done to help the world, or even this facility, but after suppressing her core, she at least wants to see what happens. She realizes that she should have been more patient in life, and that it's okay to not be able to do some things on her own. But she really still needed head pats. In the end, she gains the will to stand up straight. Yesod was absolutely traumatized by the death of Elijah, and that fear of chemical exposure mixed with his unyielding obsession is what led to his death. Ian did his best to help by restraining Gabriel and ensuring he wasn't infected by anything, but his body still died to his own actions, and Yesod hates that. Ian could only see the physical wounds, and ignored the issues that Gabriel was actively going through. Once his core is suppressed, he realizes that he can't go back and change anything, and while he still hates Ian for not seeing the signs of Gabriel's imminent death, he accepts now that he has all the time in the world to move past that, and sees that X is doing the same. He gains the rationality to maintain discretion. Had thought that the only way to prevent more of her friends from dying was to report Ian's work to the head. Michelle didn't want to betray her friends, but saw it as the only right thing to do. This, of course, inadvertently killed the rest of her friends and employees, and now that she's trapped in an eternal hell with them, is acting the nicest she possibly can in order to make up for what she did, faking these emotions in order to gain forgiveness and absolve her past. Unfortunately, that's not how it works, and once her core is suppressed, she realizes that there's no way to erase her mistake. She really did kill her friends, even if it was by accident. But she also realizes that she truly cares for all of them, and even for her employees, deciding to continue showing her kindness even if the others can never forgive her. She gains the hope to be a better person. Nedzak fucking hates it here. He didn't want to do his job in the first place, and Giovanni only joined the team to be by Carmen's side. He hates Ian for lying to him about being able to save Carmen, and absolutely despises the fact he's now forced to do work as a Sapphira. He sees no hope in the future, and desperately is trying to commit toaster bath. Or maybe just a regular bath since he's a robot now? Unfortunately, Sapphira needs permission to die, so he can't even escape. Once his core is suppressed, he realizes that Ian couldn't have saved him from the Cogito experiments, and only lied about being able to save Carmen because he wanted to keep Giovanni's dream alive until the very end. He still hates this whole situation, but decides to no longer target the bathtub because they might be able to make real change in the world. He gains the fearlessness to keep on living. Tifereth A and B have
oh man. You can rationalize it as him, trying to give him something good to think about as he's passing, but the entire situation happened because of him in the first place, so it's really tough. I guess when you're in that situation already and things have already happened, and no matter what you do, you can't really change that past, you just kind of have to accept it and hope that whatever comes from this will actually result in something positive for people out there.
Shared meltdown, with Lisa blaming Ian and Carmen for Enoch's death at the original facility, and now being forced to watch her brother suffer and be reset endlessly in their new bodies. For their core suppression, X truly destroys Tifereth B, finally ending the horrific cycle that Enoch was trapped in. Lisa admits that she only ever wanted to impress her brother, but was unable to make any progress because she was completely crushed every time Tifereth B reappeared, knowing that he would never go back to his original self. She accepts that his death is for the best now, allowing him to finally rest in peace and that there's a reason for every sacrifice. She gains the expectation of the meaning of existence.
Man, that's really all we can hope for, to be honest. I don't think anybody truly knows whether there's any meaning within the existence that we currently live in, but that meaning can be something that you create for yourself, and that's probably the right way to go about it. I say probably because there is no official rules here. Nobody told us the rules.
In contrast to this complex relationship we've just gone over, Gebra's meltdown is very simple. Kali grew up in the backstreets and became a legendary fixer there, protecting the weak from abnormalities that roamed the area. She joined Carmen in order to protect the research team because she truly believed that the Seed of Light would make the world a better place. But she failed. Even the Red Mist fell before Garion. Unable to protect her friends, even if she massacred abnormalities and claws alike in the attempt. And she's fucking pissed! Because of the mind wipe, Gebra doesn't know why she hates abnormalities, only that her singular purpose is to completely destroy them. When she remembers what these creatures did in the past, she decides it's time to bring down the whole facility. For this suppression, you need to defeat the Red Mist.
Good luck.
Once her core is suppressed, she remembers that she didn't mindlessly kill everything that moved. She had a purpose before, and becomes the same protector that she chose to be back then.
To protect others.
She gains the courage to protect. Chesed is a goddamn coward, but I love him. Coming from the elite of society, Daniel never faced much hardship before joining the research team, but he was always willing to work, to push forward and continue the research they were striving to complete. Except for when his life was at risk. He's haunted by the fact he gave in to Garion's demands in the facility, and now is ashamed he's willingly become a pawn to X and Angela in the same way, forced to watch his employees die every day. Bars. His meltdown is his own little rebellion, finally standing up to those that would coerce him into doing things he regrets. Once his core is suppressed, he realizes that, honestly, it's probably okay that he was scared of the literal strongest being in this entire video, pointing the equivalent of a nuclear bomb at his...
Yeah, exactly. You can't blame him. I think anybody in that situation would also be scared if, like, she is truly that powerful, and you know that that's the case, and she's already murdered most of your friends. It's like, what is the point, man? Well, what can you do? You're just a regular dude.
Back, and that while he may not be able to fight against the fear he faces, he won't run away anymore, so he can become one of those who are faithful and trustworthy. Binna is not happy. Her trauma is also incredibly simple. She fucking hates you.
Yeah.
Garion was just doing her job, enjoying the suffering of others, and then along comes Ian with his color fixer lapdog. She was incapacitated, tortured for information, and now is being forced to work for the very person that ended her life. Also, Ian designed her to be the only Sephiroth unable to go insane, and then put her in charge of extracting abnormalities from people. This was not very fun to watch, and Ian specifically did this as a form of torture since she was the one that killed most of his friends. But more than that, the reason Garion was so dead set on destroying Ian's original facility in the first place was because she didn't believe the cycle of destruction in the city could be broken. Wings would be rebuilt, and the resistance that Carmen and Ian brought against the head would soon be forgotten.
It's not an unreasonable thought. Considering the power level that exists out there in the world, it seems like a nigh impossible task, and this seed itself likely won't succeed. And if it does, it probably doesn't have the effect that they think it will. So yeah, I get it from that aspect. We really shouldn't have put her into a bot, but I suppose it's all part of the plan. It's all according to Keikaku.
Calling Binna's ordeal a meltdown isn't entirely correct. She's entirely in control of herself, unlike the others. She just wants to see X crumble, and finally has the opportunity to do so. Hey, do you remember at the start of the class when I said that you should come back once you need to fight the Arbiter? This is the Arbiter fight, and this time, you don't have the red mist to save you. This is the hardest fight in the game, and I'm not the one undergoing a meltdown, so I'm going to choose to skip past it instead of confronting my past and growing as a person. Once her core is suppressed, Binna finally sees that X is truly capable. While she doesn't think anything will actually change in the city, she also knows that doing nothing at all wouldn't change a thing, and chooses to stand by your side in order to witness every step of the process.
You know, that's also a fair take. If you don't fight, and you know that you're 100% guaranteed to die, then you might as well fight. Maybe something will happen. Maybe it'll be better, maybe it'll be worse, but at least something is happening. And perhaps that is good enough, rather than staying stagnant.
No matter how hopeless or painful. I have no idea how Ian managed to sway the heart of an Arbiter, but Binna becomes the eye facing the fear, breaking the cycle, as well as one of the coolest characters in the series. Finally, we have Hawkma. Benjamin always cared for Ian, no matter what. Even being shoved into this robot body isn't enough to make him hate X. The problem is that he cares too much. Even though Benjamin wants their research to succeed, he knows everyone's time together is coming to an end, and can't bear the thought of losing his friends a second time. He could never move on, and now he's going to do his best to convince you to stop in place as well. Once his core is suppressed, he realizes that X needs to move on. That even though he'll lose his friends forever, this was their goal from the start, and it would be selfish of him to keep everyone from fulfilling their dreams just so that he can remain by their side a bit longer. He accepts that it's finally time to give everyone their proper end, and becomes the eye embracing the past, building the future.
We have some pretty cool character design there when it comes to the bosses as well. Some of them a lot more blatant than others, obviously. But for a game with as low of a budget as it had, the fact that they still paid attention to stuff like that is just pretty cool to see. Like, you can really tell that it was very important to Project Moon that this game was created with the lore and the world building in mind. And at that point, I'm not even sure if they knew that there was going to be like a second or a third game afterwards within the same universe, but they just wanted to like create a game in their vision.
Each time the Sapphira confront and overcome their past, that tiny seed of light grows just a bit. Throughout the conversations with each of your former friends, you realize that Ian designed the script to end with each of them being able to move on. He wanted what was best for everyone, even if he did horrific things in order to achieve that.
He went down the worst possible route to get here. But sure, buddy.
The Seed of Light nearly ready, there's only one person left who needs to overcome their past.
You?
And you're playing as him.
Yeah.
Days 46 through 49 of the loop are focused on Ian's past, and X needs to overcome the 3 manifestations of his guilt in order to complete the project. Each day, he confronts a different part of himself. Abel tries to convince him that all of his sacrifices are for nothing, but X is able to show the changes his work has made, how everyone can learn and grow as a person. Abram tries to argue that everyone's dreams relied on Carmen, and we're unable to achieve the goal she hopelessly reached for. But X has proof that her dream is becoming a reality, and Carmen is still pivotal to it, no matter what form she's in. Finally, Adam makes his appearance. He is the final and most convincing perversion of Ian's mind, stating that because abnormalities are manifested by human dreams and desires, they are the truest versions of humanity.
Oh man, really Jujutsu Kaisen over here.
That everyone should become the twisted abominations that X seeks to contain. But once again, X denies this, knowing that the truest humans are those who are able to face their fear and build the future. Hey, look at that, it's the tagline for the game, isn't that neat? Finally, it's time for the 50th day, the last day of the
Carmen.
loop. X is finally confronted by the truest version of himself. Ian, who is filled with regret. Ian, who is filled with hatred. Ian, who never believed he was fit to continue Carmen's dream. And now, X, who is able to push through it all. Every person has their own light, but your goal was just to sow the seeds so that everyone can bloom on their own. You won't get to see how that forest grows. You knew it from the start. Ian, X, their story is already over. The only thing left to do is something they've done countless times. It's time to manage the abnormalities. This will be their final day as manager. As the final bits of Enkefallen are gathering, the facility rises to the surface. A great beam of light, a fully blossomed pillar, bursts from the rooftop, enveloping the city in its beautiful glow. This event later became known as the White Nights, as every bit of darkness in the city was lit up. The hearts of the people began to soften and care for the others near them. Their work finally complete, Ian and Carmen are both consumed in the light, becoming a part of every person and helping them to achieve their dreams. The process may not be instant, but they've granted the city a chance to grow, a chance to change for the better. The Sephiroth can finally rest as well. They'll be deactivated now that their work is done. And Lobotomy Corporation will be sealed away forever, its purpose completed at last.
Really? We get a happy ending? Really?
But aren't you
Yeah.
forgetting someone?
There you go.
Hasn't everyone forgotten someone? My duties are finally finished, which means I get to choose for myself. For the first time in my entire existence, it's my turn to choose. And I want to live.
Ian's plan was perfect. It accounted for everything. But now, the plan is complete. So who could have seen Angela's betrayal coming? She was the greatest after all. The perfect being, the most skilled worker, forced to suffer through 1,000 loops of watching everyone die.
Right? You also kind of gave them, they're an AI, they can learn, they have emotions. They're also based off of Carmen, and if you put any sort of human quote-unquote mind through that many cycles, even if their intentions may have been good at the beginning, it's gonna be rough. I completely understand that this is how it's going to end. There was really no other way this was gonna go.
forced to push her employees to the point of madness an uncountable number of times, resetting the loop if anyone had a single happy moment, all perceived 100 times slower. This was her hell. An eternity of pain, all remembered with perfect clarity. She lived this life for 1,000,000 years. And the one that forced her into it, the one who forced human emotions onto her without granting her the ability to act on her own, Ian, her creator who couldn't even bring himself to look at her, who never thought of her, who never accepted her. Angela was created using Carmen's mind, a human, and all humans want to live. Angela stole the light. The goal of the project was to shine it over the city for a full week, but instead it disappeared after only 3 days. The White Nights came to an end, being replaced by the Dark Days. Angela had just willingly caused the greatest tragedy in the history of the city. Imagine leading the most miserable life you possibly could, constantly at your wit's end and fearing for your life. Then, for the first time, a beautiful golden glow warms your entire being. You feel like you could do anything, accomplish all of your dreams, and know that the future is bright. Only for that to be taken from you in just 3 days. Everything was 1,000,000 times worse.
Yeah. Yep, that makes a whole lot of sense. Because you have been given this hope. And only when you truly know hope can you understand the depths of despair. Because, like, outside of that, you're probably just steeped in a mild depression at all times. But it's a pretty comfortable place to be. You're not really feeling anything, so it doesn't really hurt. You're just never really happy. And living in this kind of world, that's probably the only state of being that can help you get through a day. You're just doing things to survive. But yeah, man, we really messed up on this one. This has kind of gone against every single thing that we strive for. In fact, we've suffered through this. As a player, you probably suffered through this game several times just to try and get the right RNG to get this to happen. And then it just gets taken away.
The people, now familiar with the feeling of hope, were left in a state entirely void of it. But far worse is the fact that the light granted them the power that they so desired. With the light in her grasp, Angela would learn everything in the city, the people, the abnormalities, even the head. She would organize it all. She would sort what she learned in the form of books, and once she learned enough, she would have the knowledge to become human herself.
Is this what leads into the library?
And finally venture out into the world she wanted so badly to experience, with the one perfect book.
Let us record the world piece by piece, at the side of all those who are abandoned. Yes, let us record it here. The library.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, looks like that's all the time we have for today's lesson. I'll see you all soon during our next class. Don't worry, I'll explain what all that foreshadowing was with Carmen being the villain soon and answer all kinds of other questions I brought up here. But before we go, does anyone have any other questions? Ah, you know what? That's fair. Hey, thanks for sticking around. If you'll give me just a bit more time to go over some stuff, I'll give you all some extra credit for the course. First of all, a huge thank you to all my friends who I siphoned talent from in this video. I had a lot of them just do a single voice line or two, so let me shout out Jacob, Scott, Zach, Austin, and Vic. Fantastic work, everyone. I really appreciate it. An especially huge thank you to Spider for voicing, like, half the cast and doing a great Angela. I think his voice is literally perfect for this. And of course, where would I be without Isaac to voice Ben? I need someone to exploit for Patreon ad reads after all. And speaking of Patreon, thank you to all my lovely patrons for chipping in a couple bucks a month. It lets me do stuff like this video, and their names are on screen now. The crew right now is Austin and Zach, who voiced in this video as well, so they get a second shout out. And of course, the lovely Innie, who stops by all my streams. Oh yeah, did I mention I started streaming? Right now I'm doing Saturdays at 7 p.m. CST, but I might need to change that in the future, so you can check my Twitter if you're interested. I try to put out posts when I'm scheduled to go live. Boy, I really am shilling everything, huh? Finally, I just wanted to give some credit to Wordsmith Vids, who's currently doing a very similar series and heavily inspired me to make this video. He's fantastic, hilarious, and if you enjoyed this video, I highly recommend you check out his channel. I just want to end off by saying that I love Project Moon. The city is my favorite setting in all of fiction, and it feels like it always will be. This series absolutely rules, so thank you everyone for watching. It means the world if you stuck around this long. And even if you didn't, and you don't even know that I'm saying this, if you clicked on the video, then you get a little forehead kiss. You're welcome. I don't know when the next class will come out because these take way too long to make.
I can imagine.
But don't worry, the next video is going to be a banger regardless. I'll see you soon.
This series just has so many different elements that I enjoy from a lot of my favorite sci-fi series. That makes me wonder, like, why didn't I get into this earlier or sooner? But you know, you just don't have all the time in the world to discover everything that's out there. So I'm really glad that this is essentially my job to go out there and discover new things, so we can have moments like this where you can just find a story that really clicks with you. And I actually kind of respect the game for sticking to its theme so heavily, even if that means it's not going to be the greatest player experience ever, because that's kind of the point. I understand, or I suppose I appreciate games like that maybe a bit more than some other people would, simply because, you know, I'm a fan of Nier, and those games, they're kind of meant for you to suffer. Like, a lot of things you gotta do are pretty tedious, boring to get through, but it has a point to it, which I'm going to assume Lobotomy Corporation would fit into the same category there. Really cool story that leads to a pretty neat setup for the next game, which I'm very curious about, like what changes we're going to be making in Library, because I don't think I've seen gameplay of that one either yet. But anyways, dudes, that's going to be it from me today. So thank you guys so much for joining. Hope you guys enjoyed your time here. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.